Hi everyone, welcome to our first episode of the Helping Hand Pod by RUFE'S Helping Hand Healthcare. I'm here with Judith, my name is Faral, and we'll be talking about what it's like being a parent with a child with autism. So our first question today for Judith is, what is autism to you?
Okay, so autism to me is a neurological disorder. I believe present from birth, especially my little boy. I can tell you that looking back now, I can see he was autistic from day one.
Yeah.
And it's a spectrum. It comes with some super talents in some ways, and we call them superpowers in our house. But it also comes with some deficits. So obviously some deficits in the social realm, some deficits in the communication realm, and also some repetitive and restrictive behaviours and interests, some really, really, passionate interests. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's well, from what I've seen, it's very true.
Sums it up.
It does sum it up pretty well. But how do you think? Well, since you're a parent to a child with autism.
Yeah.
How do you think that autism should be regarded? When you first discovered that your child had it, what was your thought process?
Yeah, sure. So probably around the age of 18 months, I was quite sure for him. And I sort of discussed that with family and friends who all said, oh, he's just little, you know, or yeah, he's just a boy. By 2.5, I was definitely sure, and by 3, I was 100% sure. So, so I guess it's a bit of a process. I think it should be regarded as just a different brain.
Yep.
And different isn't wrong. Different's just different.
100%.
And obviously, different brains sometimes need different support. But also it can teach us a lot about things as well. So the perspective my son has on things I never think of. And I just sometimes I'm really surprised by what he takes in from the world and the environment, things that I just totally ignore.
Yep.
So, it should be regarded as someone who needs that bit more support, but someone who has a lot to offer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think along the journey, there's been some misconceptions that you've had to confront and face, or you've felt made you uncomfortable?
Yeah, certainly. I get a lot. He doesn't look autistic. And no, he doesn't look autistic. He looks like my child. But so that's a big misconception. But he's really clever.
Yes, 100%.
But he's really clever. Yeah, he's clever. And he's
sharp.
autistic. You know, he has a high IQ, in fact, and he's autistic. So I think that's a big misconception I hear a lot. And the fact that he's verbal, because, there are a lot of non-speaking people with autism. For my child, one of the telltale traits from the first couple of months was that he actually had extreme language really early.
Yep.
So again, that misconception that the fact that he has language may mean that in fact the diagnosis is incorrect, but actually the fact of how he uses his language and how much language he has is actually part of that diagnosis. Yeah.
So do you think since he's so high functioning, and I've seen that firsthand, he doesn't seem like, I guess he presents in a way that you would be able to even notice the first, second, or third time talking to him. It's only the little nuances in his speaking patterns that you as a mother are able to observe. Shows that. Do you think that when he's at school or when he's in a public setting, that it's harder to just navigate that?
Very much. I hear the words high functioning a lot, and I sometimes I think yes, he's high functioning. Other times I think actually there's so many challenges that come his way on a daily basis that actually he's not high functioning. He struggles in lots of areas, but masks really well. So, he may have a decent day at school, but come home and really not have a very good afternoon, At school, it is a challenge, and it's not the school's fault. The school's amazing, but obviously the rules they have around funding and things like that, for a child with autism who is very verbal, it is very unlikely that they'll get any funding throughout school. So despite multiple diagnoses, we're still not able to achieve funding at school. So that is a big challenge. And again, not the school's fault, just the system. But sometimes children who are verbal, who do, present as a child who doesn't need much in the school system, actually need a whole lot. And it can be frustrating at times. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think, just to touch on that point, do you think you find it difficult to find him the support that he needs? Because like at school, it's not offered as widely, or like maybe accessing funding and that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
is a lot
like
more difficult.
obviously dealing with the NDIS, you have to advocate for your child, but also dealing with school on a daily basis, you have to advocate for your child. So, little things like asking, if he's losing concentration and focus, can he have a movement break? Can we make some adaptations around that? Is he able to be seated in a spot where he can focus the best? Just those little bits and pieces that sometimes we have to encourage from the outside of school, because we do know them very well, and it's hard because we're not able to be there at school. But we are able to share some insight into what works best for them. Yeah.
So to add on to that, when you are looking to, I guess, strategize, providing support to your son, do you think that there are ways that, I guess, you would prefer teaching, or like people like who actually providing support would deal with him better, or like are there specific, I guess, steps that you would suggest for people to put into place for like to help someone like
I guess it comes down to knowing them, like finding out that information about what passions will really spark their interest, and finding out what they really don't like. For example, my little boy does not like glue at all, and it made him not like phonics, because in phonics they have to glue. They have to glue down their work or something. Yet he actually likes phonics, but it's the glue. So I guess finding out that little those little bits and pieces that make certain things uncomfortable for them, and making some kind of adaptation or modification around that. For example, having a packet of wipes or available so that the glue can be washed off. So I guess it's just about teachers and people working with him to really know what works for him. And it's trial and error. As his mum, I still don't know entirely what works for him.
Because it's always changing.
Always changing. That
makes sense. That makes sense. So just final question: how do you see your community, or how do you see the people who do provide support? What are ways that we can better support you, or what are ways that you would you think that parents with a child with autism would feel more supported?
Look, I think the world is changing, which is wonderful, and there is a lot more acceptance and a lot more understanding about autism. I think there's things getting put in place, like, for example, the sunflower lanyard that children can wear, or children and adults can wear, that identify perhaps they have a hidden disability, because I guess that's one of the major challenges, is that it can be a hidden disability. Again, there might not be an appearance or aids that make it obvious that a child or a person has a disability, yet something like the sunflower lanyard can highlight people at airports, that they need that bit more support, and perhaps something that is particularly challenging for my child, like waiting, that can flare all sorts of meltdowns, that they can be supported through that a little bit. And in the community, someone like yourself, a support worker, it's the first time that my child's gone out without me to places, and having that support where we built that trust from the start, and we built up to bits and pieces where he's able to now go and explore with you and have that relationship with you that he's never had before. So that's awesome. And in terms of like sporting groups and things, he's just joined his first little sporting group, and he watching him last week was awesome, because I could I had typed for them what would work, and I could hear that all in place, very clear, implicit instructions, really showing what was expected a few times, especially when it comes to physical skills. So so things like that really help support his development, and obviously the range of therapies we do. So there's quite the list each week of therapies, but they all have a massive benefit, and when you get them all working together, it really supports his participation in the community.
All right, so you guys heard it here first. this is what it's like raising a child with autism. We hope you found this information valuable. If you have any questions, send us a message and we can get back to you with an informative response. Thank you for joining us, and thank you again, Judith, for sharing your experience with us.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone.